Together fiscal year 26 budget adoption, May 29th, 2025, 7 p.m. Mr. Rowe, would you give invocation?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for this moment in time. Thank you tonight for our Board of Supervisors and for all the citizens and the media that are here tonight. Pray, Father, that you continue to guide us and protect us and keep us in your keeping care. Let us be mindful of your mercy, of your grace, and of your wisdom. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Please rise for pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Bowen, we're going to have a discussion of the budget public hearing.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and board members, and we thank you for all the citizens here tonight.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Yeah, excuse me. Thank you,
Sorry
sir.
about that. Sorry.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. Appreciate that. Just to kind of boil it down to bullet points, I guess, to, not trying to take anything away from the citizens, but what they had voiced. We had actually 8 citizens that spoke at the public hearing last Thursday. One spoke of how good the job that this board is doing now compared to the previous boards. One spoke of clarification point that volunteer fire department does have volunteers. One spoke about another possible revenue of hog farms in the future, and then 5 spoke against the tax hike. So that was your 8 speakers. Board members made comments as well, discussing about the budget, the proposed budget. One board member spoke against the Commonwealth Attorney's administrative position, and one spoke, the same gentleman, Mr. Rourke, spoke against the local $2.1 million that's included, that's local funds that goes to incentive programs, and this does not, I don't think, includes A&TC. So, and I asked, and I got I figured maybe y'all needed some clarification. So before I get Miss Meyer up here, I did see if, I don't see Commonwealth Attorney here. She did send me a text just shortly to explain about the position. The position is filled, by the way, that was mentioned. It says here the employees in the position, the employee in the position in question handles the following tasks as well as other duties. Responsible for creating and updating case files, both physical files and digital files within the case management system, updates the case management system with outcomes and relative details following court appearances, process case-related paperwork, and ensures accurate entry and organization within the case management system, retrieves body-worn camera footage and other relevant video evidence provided by law enforcement agencies, provides direct support and services to victims in the absence of the victim witness director, ensuring continuity of services to the citizens of Nottoway County, communicates with witnesses to gather receipts and supporting documentation necessary for restitution request, collects and organizes missing or incomplete documentation within case files to ensure completeness and accuracy, VCIN certified, conducts criminal history and driving record checks as needed for case preparation, coordinates with attorneys before court to effectively provide in-court assistance with coordinating witnesses during busy dockets, updates law enforcement after arrangements to ensure collaboration and timely receipt of case documents. So I just received that from Ms. Walters, our Commonwealth Attorney, about what that position actually entails. And I apologize, we recognize Damien Rowe, and I mentioned Heather Meyer here, and of course Dr. Martin here, who is going to be our future superintendent. With that said, sir, if y'all got any clarification as far as about that $2.1 million, they had given us a presentation back in May on that subject, and I'm sure they're willing to answer any questions or clarification this board or Mr. Rourke or any of y'all need to have. Anyway.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, before we go there, at this time, I would like to withdraw that concern simply because I spoke briefly with Ms. Martin, Dr. Martin, and I spoke in an entirety with Chairman Abbott. He left a packet for me today that Mr. Bourne just brought with me, and there is a such thing called a budget amendment. So at this time, I'd like to withdraw that simply because in talking with Ms. Martin and in talking with Mr. Abbott, and I'm sure they want to probably invite Ms. Meyer and anybody else that wants to come to that meeting when we get there. I know she ain't getting her feet wet. Hell, she's soaked now. I mean, you know, so, and everybody's hoping and pulling for the positive change to get there. And I will say this, in the conversations that I've had, they clearly demonstrate that they're willing to ask hard questions of me, which is great. And they know that I'm willing to ask hard questions of them. But the one thing we all clearly agreed on, and I'm not speaking for them because y'all know they're very outspoken themselves when they need to be, but we, and I say we, want to move forward together with a positive solution. Sometimes if you shake the hornet's nest, you might get stung, but you know, you have to deal with the hornet's nest at the same time. And I greatly appreciate it. And even when we walked in this evening, I told Ms. Martin, I said, thank you. We ain't even met yet, but thank you. And we'll find solutions, but we'll work together. That's why I extended. And I know it's gotten lost on some because they want it to be lost. But when Ms. Meyer was here, my ask was, what can we do to help? It was never about kicking the school in the teeth. Sonny, Mr. Abbott, showed me, I mean, when you use the words, shut the school system down, now you've told me something. You're not just telling me, they were spoken up here earlier in a previous meeting, that we're given $2 million over the required local match. Okay, that's all the information I was given. I'm not going to blame it on my stroke. I could have picked the phone up, made phone calls and everything else. I hold myself accountable and need to hold a mirror in front of my face just like anybody else should. And with that, I digress.
Okay. Ms. Meyer, why don't you step up, just since it was discussed last meeting, and just so the citizens have some clarity about what we're talking about. Make sure you get to the microphone there.
Oh, sorry. Whoops. All right.
All right, you break it. It's coming out the school budget.
So, you know, we base our budget off of a calculation tool that the state provides. We don't pull numbers out of thin air. We strictly go based upon what the state says. And there's multiple categories within the state budget. You have your SOQ funding, which has a required local effort to it, which is what the county has to pay. And then there's a lot of other programs that have a required local match. And the 2.1 million that was referenced is that local match. If the county does not provide us that local match, then we cannot accept the state funds that those local match goes to. And you're talking about pre-K would have to be cut. You're talking about we would have to increase our class sizes. You know, that would take away from, you know, early or reading specialists that we have. It would take away a large chunk of at-risk funding, and that at-risk funding funds our extra counselors that we use with Fulcrum Counseling, and along with many other extra programs that we try to have for our students. So it is a big impact. Overall, it's about $7 million. That's about $5 million from the state, $2 million from the county. Without that $7 million, we would have to cut a massive amount of employees. And I do not want to be the one to have to tell employees, I don't have a job for you. Not to mention, I don't want to have to tell students, no, we can't help you with that because we don't have the funding to be able to provide, you know, extra services. So it is a big deal. You know, it's one thing that, you know, I do every year is I try to start looking at ways that we can cut money, save money, whether it's, you know, who are we buying toilet paper from? Is there a cheaper place that we can get it from? So we do try to be frugal in that manner so that, when it comes to consumable items, we're being as frugal as possible and as conscious as possible about what we're purchasing, where we're purchasing it from, and cost. But I will say the bulk of our budget is our salary, for our staff. And unfortunately, the state provides us with funding for 163 positions. You cannot run a school division with 163 people. It is just not possible. So we have roughly 283 staff members. Without the extras, funding, we would not be able to have, some of these extra positions, some of the extra instructional aids to help our special education students. It's really a big factor, and it really, helps us to make sure that we can maintain. Are there places where we can improve? I'm sure there are, and that is something that, I will work with Dr. Martin on. As she takes office, for us to continue to improve that and improve our processes and improve even the way we budget. So, it's always a conversation piece that should be had, but, we're not trying to, take money from the county and spend it needlessly. We do try to do our best to be as diligent with taxpayer money as possible. And I know I spoke at the regular meeting this month and said, if anybody, regardless of whether it's, a county official, whether it's just a regular old citizen, if they ever have a question about budget, I'm always happy and open to sit down and talk to anyone, and to explain to them, show them, and try to help them understand, where we're coming from. So I hope that kind of helps.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer.
Thank you for
Any
providing
members have any
clarity.
questions?
Yeah, I do. Just one for clarification. Is the 2.1 the required local match?
No, the 2.1 is the required, yes, it is the required local match, yes. That is,
For each program?
that's for all the programs total.
So there's not an overpayment of $2.1 million?
No.
See, that's what was presented to me on
Yeah,
this board.
so, and every June, since I've been here, we've always gone back to the county to let them know, okay, this is what our ADM ended up with. This is actually technically what you owe. And usually it's been less, I think, every year except last year. And this year will be less, and I've actually already let Mr. Bowen and Logan know what the estimated amount for the year end was gonna be. Now, I won't know that until the state publishes their final calc tool for this calendar, or for this fiscal year.
And y'all only got $300,000 additional dollars from the county this year, correct?
I believe, I don't have those numbers in front of me,
Okay.
but that sounds,
But that's a big difference from 300,000 to 2.1 million.
Right, and we also was, I think the ANTC, that is not included, that's extra money, and
That
that's
is-
300 and some, I think we looked at it today,
So when you-
330.
that is extra money. The Board of Supervisors from both counties, a few years ago, I think prior to me coming in, met together and made an agreement to continue to support the facility. Now, I have done a lot of budget work with them, and we have, a couple of years ago, reduced what was in the budget drastically, because I found a lot of areas where we needed to tighten up over there. So where we're at now, I mean, it is going up a little bit incrementally, but that's mainly just.
Well, I think you picked up another program over there.
We did, we just added, carpentry will be, a program for next school year. So there are, some things rolling and moving over there in a positive direction. And I know the principal over there's got a lot of other good ideas that she wants to hopefully start implementing. So, we've tried to make sure that that budget is as tight as possible, so that we're not having to ask, an exorbitant amount, for them. So, we've been really trying to work on theirs as well. But now I know possibly in your budget, because I think, and I haven't seen line by line, but I do think ANTC is probably lumped into that one.
It is.
Local appropriation.
It's lumped in.
Line. But that is strict local funding that you all provide to
Yeah.
them.
Looking at a previous email, didn't interrupt you, Heather, I think the ANTC is a little over $318,000 this year.
Yes, that sounds right.
Ms. Meyer, what would you say, I see the need for the $2.1 million to be matched by the state's $7 million, but what would you say to a citizen that asked you that they've recently moved into the county in the last few years, they're retired, they own 400 or 500 acres, and they are paying a lot of county tax and about to pay more never to use the public school system. Or the parent that says that their child went to a private school and they had to pay for it out of their pocket, or one that's never had a child. How would you answer that other than me answering it saying, look across the Commonwealth to the rest of the counties that do it?
Well, I think all of us, it takes a village to raise a child. It's not just, the parent, it's not just, the family. It is the total community that has to get behind every single child, regardless of whether it's their blood or not. And I think that we need them to support that. Also look at the fact that these are the kids that are gonna be taking care of us one day, and I wanna make sure that they
Hopefully so.
have a good education. So, I think that's another part of it, regardless of whether you have children or not. Somebody's child is probably going to eventually be taken care of.
So for a parent to say that they couldn't have children or never wanted to have children because they was too expensive, they're gonna pay for somebody's child to a degree either way, right?
Yes, to a degree, either way, because they're part of the community, and the community.
And it takes a
we need
village
them
to raise children.
It does.
Makes sense. Thank you.
When I was teaching, Ms. Meyer, I used to look at some of the students, and I used to tell the other teachers, I said, better be careful, they're gonna be taking care of you before long.
Yes,
So
indeed.
that's something that I've always thought that, as a teacher, I see the need. I don't have children of my own, but I see the need. And if there's one thing we can do in this county is support the public schools.
What's the old saying say, once a man, twice a child? It's a whole lot of truth to that, a lot of merit to that.
Well, Dickie, you got more kids than you think. You touched a lot of lives.
Hundreds and hundreds.
Hi, I want
One of them sitting up here.
to thank you too for your budget expertise and your attention to detail and your team, especially the $6 million grant you got for HVAC in the roof. That's very commendable, and we appreciate you working with us.
Absolutely.
I don't mind. I want the positive relationship. It's the only way that the schools are gonna continue to climb higher and higher. So that's what we need is the partnership.
All right, thank you, Ms. Meyer.
Speaking of partnerships, while she's here, we had an incident in Crew, and I'm glad the mayor's here with some vandalism on the Galubic Stadium. And so you've been always trying to figure out, so we pay for these Piedmont Regional Jail folks, we spend all that money. Anyway, I think Monday they're supposed to help paint over that graffiti.
They're coming over to help paint over the graffiti so that eyesore can be taken care of.
Yeah.
And we appreciate that.
No, well, thank you for working with us on that.
Thank all of y'all.
Okay, we're going to item C. It's going to be fiscal year 2026.
Yeah, that's all my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bowen. Item 1, adoption of the budget. Some motion sheets here.
Okay.
I'd be calling for a motion to adopt the budget.
I move to adopt the Nottoway County budget for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2026, totaling $59,286,424 as presented, pending receipts of all outstanding federal and state funding and all obligated and committed funds to be carried over from the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025.
Second for discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a second for discussion. Anyone, any thoughts?
Yes, sir. I have some.
Okay.
Imagine that. So just so we understand, the public can understand as well, how many folks is on the Finance and Budget Committee that has been working on this? I know it's 2 board members, Mr. Ingram and Ms. Norton. Steve is in there, Logan, the treasurer.
Has Tammy been?
Treasurer.
Tammy's been,
And then
Commissioner or Revenue,
Christie
Christie.
Hudson.
Christie, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, John, to be fair and honest with that, so we had Christy and Tammy in on the finance with different things, what we're trying to do with raising, maybe going for 2 years, sending out bills and that kind of thing.
Paying twice a year.
Right, but when we got down to where we started going to in the budget, Christy and Tammy had yielded and had not come, and which really at that time we didn't really need them as that part of it. Anyway.
Okay, has anybody else?
Oh yeah, Morgan Quick.
Mr. Quick.
Okay, all right.
But he hadn't gone to all of them. I don't
No,
think.
he
He
has
wasn't all
not.
of them. No, like maybe once or twice or something.
That's
Three.
right.
Okay. All right, so we've got all that, and so guys, there's a couple different things. Of course, I got EMS on here, and you know, I wish we could have started on this in 2020 had we been given the appropriate information. But nonetheless, we're here now. This is what we got to deal with. But you know, to the EMS, I want you to know that we support all EMS, and this is not political at all. No, it's just simply dollars and cents. So we have heard about being blindsided with this $900,000 deal. But were we truly blindsided? You know, former chiefs, former captains of the squad, all of them have come here and asked for more money constantly, every year. But, you know, until 2020, we've been given a little bit more each year since 2020. So, but nonetheless, the big needs weren't being addressed. We had, you know, some grant funding to come in, help us with the tower, with the ladder truck and stuff like that, which is great. So I just want y'all to know to start with that I love you all. And we got to separate our personal feelings from this. Simply put, I could sit here and say, Theo Chris saved my life. He did. But I believe anybody who would have come from Nottoway or Burkeville Squad would have saved my life that day. And that was just back in February now. So I can use my personal feelings to say, nope, 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 give them all the money they want. Give them all the money they want. But we got to separate our personal feelings from that. And to that extent, you know, as we move forward, so we're talking about adopting this. So I'm just asking, when it's adopted, what do we have in place to move forward? Resolution, solutions.
So you've got your ordinance that's in place. And this is going to be part of the budget discussion every year.
Right.
So NCES, things improve. We have the consulting board being set up. The billings change. They're looking at the subscription service. They pick up the third ambulance back at Fact C. Then maybe they're not as much next year.
Right.
The budget's improved, so that can come down. And then you may have a need, you know, Chief Schniff or Chief Bears might say, well, you know, we need to have two, you know, paid during the day.
Right.
And so then their number goes up a little bit.
Right.
So that's how it's set up.
Well, because right now, and you know, just so the citizens know, the squads know as well, you know, a little over 62,000 next month, is that right?
That's correct.
Next month, 62,000 and 900,000 each year. Now,
There's 500 in the budget.
yeah,
We're seeing how it's going to go. We'll have to reappropriate from somewhere.
right,
If it's going okay.
Yes, so if we're going to do this, and the argument has been made clearly about them being a private entity, 501c3. So if we're giving this money, and clearly we're going to have MOUs in place, but should we, if we're giving this kind of money, and there's really no guarantees, it's just Overwatch. So what we're talking about, do we get liens on titles? Do we get liens on deeds of property? Do they pay the county back since they are a private entity and have made some unfortunate statements?
That's some really good questions that
Those are all
yourself and
part of
me
it.
and Buddy's gonna have is going on that
That's right.
committee.
And that's part of the,
And we
you
wanted to
guys are
ha-
going to build the MOU as
That's
part
right.
of your committee. And those are things that they need to understand.
Right, now I do think there was a misunderstanding. Bo, myself, and Buddy were coming back here to advise this board. Correct. But what I understood, and I think it may be somewhere off tilt a little bit, is that this is supposed to be, we were supposed to be placed on the executive board.
That is correct.
That is correct.
So I think there may be some misunderstanding. Now, I know they're working the bylaws and the Constitution up right now, and technically, we can't do nothing. We can't get in a meeting.
We've not been able to have the meeting.
Right, until
Within
that,
our
until
10-day
that's done,
desired
and
time.
they're
We've not been able
working
to meet
on
with
it.
them.
And like I said, everything moves at the speed of molasses, especially government. It's cold molasses, but we're working on that, and we're going to work with them to get to a thing. I mean, get to a point where we can make some honest conversations. Because unfortunately, right now, I don't know if y'all are getting it, but I got citizens saying, and a lot of people want to blame it just on the fire departments. It's not just the firefighters. I got everyday citizens asking the same questions. What are we going to get with no guarantees? That's a fair question. It's a fair question because if we're going to prove this with the tax levies, you know, that kind of comes into this. But this is a little bit more of a work session item, but we're working towards this just so that people will understand that as well.
Ideally, at the next work session, you guys will come back with your ideas for the MOU.
Right.
And we'll line it out.
Yes.
It may include, you know, if you fail, you don't provide what you're saying, provide a 24-hour ALS squad.
Right.
Then it may be real estate, it might be titles.
Well, Steve, that's my feelings are, we don't write a check to them unless our representatives on that board come back to us and say they need it. I will not vote for something they say they don't, my reps on that board say they don't need this.
Right.
I'm not voting for it. We're gonna see people, y'all gonna come back to us and say they need this for this amount, and we'll say, okay, if y'all agree that that's what they need, we'll fund it. But if not, I'm not gonna vote to give them any more money until we find out that's a need.
Me either.
What John is saying as well is they went from about $215,000 in budget requests to $896,000.
That's correct.
In 1 year.
That's right.
So I have gotten a few calls today and one Tuesday. They wanted to know what we was doing to see what differentiated that need. And so when we get into their books, not just what they printed off, but perhaps some bank statements and see where some funds went, we don't know. And we wanted to have that meeting before tonight, actually.
Yeah.
John and I talked yesterday briefly, and we really, really wanted to know before we potentially adopted this levy. But I pushed some numbers and talked to a couple more knowledgeable people, and you don't have to be too knowledgeable to be more knowledgeable than myself.
Amen.
If that's a word to our school people, more knowledgeable.
Love you, man.
The need is more than what this levy even intends for the fire department and the EMS. So we already know that figure's down by $650,000. So it would be nothing wrong with adopting this levy and then appropriating them funds after we have our work session and after we form our committee and get on their board. I don't think it would be anything wrong with that.
Right.
John, too, this budget we're putting in place tonight gives us future planning needs that is long overdue, that we can put in place, and it could change. We have 2 solar applications right now, Dickie, close your ears, but that will give us a revenue source. And as things transpire, we also may have some economic development news in the forefront. So as things change, we could change this budget projection and these taxes. But right now, this puts us in a position to be able to fund this vital service, no matter if it's Nottoway emergency or another
EMS,
agency
ESS.
or fire,
Right.
because
Or
we
county
don't-
employees.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been told this for a while, and it's time we take action, and it's going to be painful for the citizens, everybody, but it's got to be done.
It's unfortunate to raise taxes by anything. If anything, we should be lowering taxes. And by us drawing out of the general fund every year, it's going to dry up. I mean, if you take a bucket, or even a 5-gallon bucket of water and take 3 ounces of water out of it every year without it putting it back, it's going to dry up. And it's drying up quick. We need some revenue, but until then.
Presentation last week that
that's-
showed that.
That's exactly right. And until then, if we don't adopt a budget with the tax increase, we're not going to be able to provide the services.
All right.
Not just
Yeah,
EMS
I
services.
think one of
Not
the
just
things-
EMS services.
When we met with them, you know, we meet with each department every year. They came in and they presented that request. My question was, why now? Why did this all of a sudden come about? You didn't only ask for, what, 35,000 for the drug box the year before, which we increased it just about that amount. Why do you need so much more now? The response I got was, it was not, the revenue was projected to be a whole lot more than what it actually was. That was a response I got at that meeting.
It was a bogus projection.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
That's what it was.
Exactly.
It was a bogus projection. I can project to hit the lottery.
Right.
But going out there and doing it is two different things.
That's right.
It was a bogus
We
projection.
have a motion for discussion. Is everybody, anything else? Any other discussion?
Yes, sir, just to clarify, the information that was given to us that we discussed last Thursday night's meeting, I just want to make sure I was correct, but the information was incorrect. It was $5.89, but it was
It was
supposed to have been 5 cents.
5
That's
cents.
right.
It's supposed to be .0589. That's what it was
Wasn't
supposed
error
to
on
be.
the-
That's right.
Yeah, so
Typo.
I just wanted to clear that up. But now, guys, this is, the people in this finance committee and all the supervisors, especially the committee, and when we met with people for the last 2 years, do y'all agree that what we've said for the last 2 years is cut, cut, cut? Is that a fair statement? That's what we've said.
The
It's
budget
cut,
request?
cut, cut
Yes.
the last 2 years.
We're down staff. We've been successful out at the LRA cutting expense. It's about $1 million, I think.
All right, and I just want to share this, that a constituent sent in a text message today, and I only took this excerpt because the rest of it was not, I'm not repeating. But it said, what's been brought back to this board tonight was the largest budget that anybody has ever seen in the county's history. So for $59 million, what in the world was cut?
Well, you gotta remember, John, that $6 million of that is a grant that's
Right,
going
right,
to be refunded.
Yeah, they were just asking what's being cut, and I was able to tell them that the sheriff is
That was the
withholding
first
a
thing I was gonna
position.
say.
Yeah, the
We
sheriff is
don't have
Several
a-
withholding a
positions that are open.
We don't have a
not been
finance
filled.
director. That's a $90,000
That's right.
position. That cost us $7,500 having just a
Right.
consultant.
Right.
That was a savings of $83,000,
Yeah.
$82,500.
Yeah,
The LRA is now just a department of the county.
right.
There's no longer a director out there.
Right.
That was a,
That was 70-some thousand, but not including
70,000?
benefits, yeah.
that spending that director was doing was uncontrolled.
Oh, yeah.
At one time, he was renting $15,000 worth of mowing equipment because everything was broken. Maintenance without approvals, things like that. So that was a big drain that has been plugged, and we're continuing to work out there to do things.
But saying that, you're cutting here, but
You have
the state
inflationary pressures
turns
here.
around and says, hey, you gotta give 3% to all.
Your employees.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say.
Board.
I could answer that by saying, what was cut with a $59 million budget. I could ask the same question, say, what was increased to that person that they should have asked? Why was it increased? And was it increased more than just by inflation?
Right.
So it's two, fast statement.
Yeah.
Why was
About
it increased?
300,
And
300,000.
About 3, and also, John, at the landfill, we get to the point we had talked about increasing the berm, and that will save us on the hauling and leachate cost
Right.
tremendously.
Right.
Correct, Steve?
yeah, and then the other thing too is the dispatching manager. You saw that we have, y'all agreed we had a dispatching problem, so we budgeted to bring in
Train 'em.
somebody to coach them, and that, because Bo said, hey, let's give the sheriff the same tools we would give Buddy. And so I was told today, Michelle looks like she's gonna get that grant of the 80-some thousand. So
That's a
even
blessing.
though it's in the budget, it looks high, but hopefully we'll get that.
There are items program funded.
We're dealing with and John, I'll say this to all of y'all, we're dealing also with federal grant money that we have a whole new, we got a different president right now, and I'm not gonna say until I see that money come into the county, I don't know if we got it. And I just gotta be honest with you. So that's why you gotta put the 80,000 in now to get this, to help these
Be accurate.
Yeah, to be accurate, anyway.
Defensive.
Anyway, just-
All right, well then I only have 2 quick points then. So number one, to your point, Steve, what you're talking about,
Right.
you hear a lot of things from news outlets, depending on which way they're leaning as to what you hear. So I've been under the impression that the Department of Education has been dismantled, right? When is our schools going to see some of that money?
Should be coming to the state, this was his idea.
Yeah.
That
So if it's
heavy
coming to
burden
the
of
state and they put
administration.
these demands on the schools and stuff like that, when are we going to see that state money? You know, I mean, and that's one of the things I was going to get with them about. Where can we poke and prod to find out when that's expected to be here? Is it 2 years, 3 years? If you dismantled it, you took the money away immediately. Well, then, right here, let's get it to them.
But that's beyond our control.
I know it is. It's just
But it sure is something to think about.
yeah, you get in there and pride on
They
this.
reduced federal taxes too, which he did, you know, they're working on that, so
Yeah.
the money's just not there.
So also,
True, very
just to be clear, none of this tax increase is going towards the courthouse.
No.
No, sir.
That's yet to be done, old pal.
Yeah, well then, you know, it's like I said, I got some stuff for that. It's just,
We're going to do an update at the end of the meeting on the PPEA,
okay, okay,
so just as, we haven't talked about it in a while.
okay, all right, that's fine.
Sad but true.
Well, I'll digress. I hear the sighs in the room.
Do you want to just make a motion without discussion? Just go ahead and second?
I'll withdraw the second.
You'll withdraw?
Yeah.
Okay, looking for a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, we're going to roll call. Mr. Toth?
Aye.
Ms. Norton?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Ingram?
Aye.
Mr. Rourke?
Nay.
Billy, your prediction was correct.
All right, motion passed 4-1.
Did your prediction right?
Item C2, adoption of levies. I need a motion.
So move.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Might want to read that, Mr. Chairman, if you don't
All
mind.
right, go ahead and,
Yeah. You wanted to read them?
yeah, go ahead and read.
He made the motion, correct? He so moved. Does he need to read it or can I read it? You want me to read it for you, John?
Oh, yeah, because I don't have,
It's on,
We
it's
just
on
had 2 copies of it.
Oh, did you? Yeah,
yeah.
does he need to read it since he made it? If he does, it's right there.
You can read it if you want.
I'll read it. I don't have no problem.
no, yeah, if he wants to read and make the motion, that's fine.
To John's motion,
I withdraw my motion
I'll
and,
make the motion. You second it?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Make my motion, got a
Go
second.
ahead.
Move to adopt the tax levies advertised as presented for the fiscal year ending in June 30th, 2026, including for the general county purposes on real estate at 48 cents per hundred valuation, for the general county purposes on personal property at 4.12 per $100 valuation, for the fire fund on real estate at 0.022 cents per hundred valuation, for the fire fund on personal property at 18 cents per $100 valuation, for the emergency services fund on real estate at 0.05 per $100 valuation, and for the emergency service fund on personal property at 0.45 per $100 valuation.
We had a motion and a second. We're going to roll call.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a competing motion, please. To separate some of these, because I feel like and I would, just so y'all know, even though I made the motion or seconded the motion, that don't mean you support it. I mean, you can make the motion just to move it on or second it just to move it on. But at the end of the day, there's some things that I would vote yay for, but if I had to do it all as one, then I would say nay.
So what things would you were talking about pulling out? I seen you said you had something to pull out and move around.
I would vote yay to the fire fund on real estate. I would put a competing motion for that to be 10 cents on personal property for the fire fund for this first year, because simply because I don't know that it's clear, because I hear some of the fire departments saying that it seems like there's some money not being taken through the fire department. So like the sticker money pass-through monies and stuff like that, I would be more apt to say we need to make sure that they're not losing any funds that are currently available to them now before we raise these valuations so high. The other thing I would provide a competing motion for, because I believe, as Mr. Hyde, and don't mean to put you on the spot, buddy, but I'd like to see the vehicle go down to zero cost on the emergency services volunteers. And I believe you can do that, walk it down to zero. I believe you can run it down to zero.
Well, I don't know if that was a question or a statement, but
So it's a competing motion. Do I have a second?
I wanted to have a little discussion about it.
Yeah, so you're seconding
So
for
I'll second for a discussion.
Okay.
John, if we can get them numbers, I'm in support of what you said, of what it's gonna cost us and what we need without going into the general fund. I'm very much in support of what your competing motion was.
It'll go in the general fund.
What?
It'll come out of the general fund.
It's gonna come out of the general fund. Therefore, I wanna know how much it's gonna be. To these numbers going down to zero from '05, and going to 10, from 18 to 10
It's about $12,000 to go to zero
on
personal property.
on the personal property side. From 18 to 10 is 12,000?
No, to zero. If we did not collect on one vehicle.
For the fire fund, he's talking about personal property. From,
All first responders receive right
One
now
vehicle.
is $1 on one vehicle.
that's what I thought, $1 for one
We
vehicle.
had Christie look last week
Yeah, last week.
to see what kind of incentive, Mr. Rourke brought this up about incentivizing volunteers. So we looked for that number, and Christie said it was 12
I think it was 12. I'm sure it was 12.
on the existing volunteers.
So this goes back to what I say earlier before the competing motion. This is going to give the county revenue of about 1.4 million, is that correct, total? In this levy? Is that about right, 1.4 million?
Yeah, that's what I understand.
In the actual need, when we first started talking about this, was like 2.1 million?
2.2.
2.2 million? So now we're subtracting from the proposed 1.4, and the need was already at 2.2, then I don't need any figure.
We moved back to the general side,
To take care of the shortfall.
the tower, the radio tower went back to the budget side, not the levies.
I remember that, okay.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I just.
Which reduced it to the 1 point, closer to the,
1.4.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, if you allow me to just make a comment, if you would. We did do a work session showing these numbers. If you notice that these fire departments, they will speak, they will come to that podium and speak if they don't feel like they've been treated fairly. We've listened to the public, and they're not, the only one that came to forth was the chief of crew, and that was just to explain that they do have volunteers. So I'm not sure where that change, and I know maybe John feels that way, but they've never been shy about speaking. And through the work sessions that I've attended, and they've been part of it, as long as they were asking for level funding, they realized what's going on with the Nottoway County Emergency Squad, and they have been very gracious about that. And so, as Bill said at the start, next year you can change it how you want to. You know, you can up one, down another. Once you get in there and find out what you're trying to do, or bring it all down. But anyway, I just want to make that reassurance to the public and you.
All right, as of right now, we've got a motion, had a first and a second. We had a competing motion, and then we had a second competing motion for discussion. What do you want to do with your discussion, Bo? You can withdraw it?
Yep.
All right, we've withdrawn the competing motion for discussion. I'll ask again for a second on the competing motion.
The first motion.
I've got a first and second on the first motion.
Okay.
Then we had a competing
Okay, I
motion.
see what you're doing.
I don't have a second. Hearing none, motion fails. Back to the first motion, first and second. We're going to roll call. Mr. Toth?
Aye.
Ms. Norton?
Aye.
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 Mr. Rourke?
Nay.
Motion passed 4-1. Final item, C3. This is the appropriation of the budget. Anybody wish to read the suggested motion?
Vicky?
You want to read one?
Sorry, Dickie.
This one.
Yes, sir.
I move to appropriate the fiscal year 2025-2026 Nottoway County budget totaling $59,286,424, including all outstanding purchase orders and committed funds contingent upon receipt of all state and federal funding.
I'll ask for a motion.
Was that the motion?
That was the motion.
I'll second the
Ask for a
motion.
second. We're gonna roll call. Mr. Tote?
Aye.
Ms. Norton?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Ingram?
Aye.
Mr. Rourke?
I mean, you've passed the budget, you gotta adopt it. I mean, you know.
5-0.
That's all what they are.
It would have still passed with a nay, or two, or two.
Yeah.
All right. Item C is done. Nottoway County has a budget for fiscal year 26. And we pay our bills and help our citizens. We're going to do comments from members of the board. Vice Chair Norton.
I'm going to toss out something that we have been discussing, and it will be for future discussion, and I'm hoping that it will be resolved. The Commissioner of Revenue and our finance team have been talking about a senior citizen discount on real estate. That is allowed by the Code of Virginia, and we may toss out, it's about $40,000 that's going to cost to be able to allow the senior citizens a discount. It is a process. They'll go through the Commissioner of Revenue's office. We'll have more details.
There'll be a definition of the senior
There'll
citizen.
be a definition. And the funding loss, which to me is not a loss, is a win for the seniors. You have to meet certain income criteria. But I will put out there that I have talked and I have permission for a solar company that is coming into my district is willing to write a check to offset that cost for senior citizen discount. Also, I've had some people say they'd lose their home because of this. I want to clarify, I've talked to the treasurer. You're not going to lose your home if you can't pay your taxes. You have 3 years. You can start prepaying and pay $20 a month, but you're not going to lose your house because you can't pay your taxes. And I had a lady call me and it really got me. She said she couldn't buy her groceries. My church, Brenda's church, there's a lot of churches. If you can't buy groceries, Reverend Rowe, come see us. We'll help you buy groceries. But what price do we put on a life? We have to do this. It's hard choices. But there's hope on the horizon. There is some economic movement on economic development. And if that comes to fruition, then next year all this will change. But until then, it's hard choices. I'm sorry, but we had to do it.
Supervisor Ingram.
Nobody likes to raise taxes. Last year, my 99% assessment went up. I had to write a big check. Sounds like it's going to be just as big and bigger this year. I've lived in this county all my life, and I've never seen this much stuff happen at once. I mean, we got animal shelter, we got radio system, we got EMS, and we got courthouse, all happening at once. We've been very lucky in this county, if you think about it, that we've gotten by with what we've gotten by with. But now we're paying the piper. And again, I do not want to raise taxes, but I don't see any other option. As Norton stated, Mr. Toe stated, if we keep pulling from the general fund in about 2 years, we're going to be broke. And then what are you going to do? The state's going to come in and tell you what you have to do. I'd rather us be doing it than the state coming in and telling us exactly what we have to do.
Mr. Rourke.
Yes, sir. And as y'all know, January I brought the levies back up because they needed it. They needed it. And because we weren't able to separate them, I don't want there to be any confusion. Because we did not separate them by item, and they bunched it all up, I voted no because it's too much on the citizens. It really is. But I would have voted for the levies, and to reduce the prices all the way down to nothing. I like to see all the volunteers pay nothing on personal property. So that's something that I hope we'll keep working on too for y'all. And I think y'all know that I bleed EMS around here. So it's, I just want to explain that. I'm not voting no to y'all's support and the financial needs y'all have. I had no choice but to vote no because it was all lumped in on one motion. Okay, and with that, the general fund. So as I understand it, in 2027, we're out of money, correct?
Correct.
If we don't do this.
If we don't increase.
Okay, all right, so 2027. So it's correct and no, so which is it?
If you had done nothing, you'd be going further into reserves, a little over 3 million.
That's correct.
Yeah, it depends on how you define broke.
I mean, you can,
I'm badly bent now, but I ain't broke.
you can move that reserve number around however you want, but then there's things that happen, you know, if we sell a piece of land, there's other things that can happen. So it's hard to say definitively on this day.
Right.
There's too many.
All right, I mean, and we're all aware that's been put out there. It's been said publicly from here. But roughly, the county's taxable budget is about $20 million. So the county, if you got to hold 20% in reserve, that's $4 million. If you got to hold 25%, that's $5 million in reserve. That's what the state would like to see you have, roughly 25% of your total budget. Okay, so let's just imagine this, just so everybody knows, because this is some, we can't just leave alone and wait till next budget season. We can't, and I don't think anybody on this board will. So what we're saying technically right now is with the issues, the concern is that we're going to run out of money in 2 years. So this is what you got. Of course, this is 25, 26 budget cycle. The next one's going to be 26, 27. It was even mentioned that in 27 we run out of money. So are we out of money for half of next year? Or are we out of money for 27, 28? The reason I ask that question is simply because if our budget is $20 million, guys, and we're required to hold 20% or 25%, and we don't have it in reserves, guess what? Guess what? Be ready. That's a $4 million or $5 million tax increase you got to hit people with to hold in your reserves. If we don't get the money in here, and the projection right now is being
But
said.
this is gonna
This
keep us
solves
from
it.
being, this will
solves
take
it.
care of it.
This takes care of it.
Not drop below that 4
The
million.
biggest part is to keep the reserves, and right now in this interest rate environment, they're, you know, $1 million earns you about 50.
Yeah, and
Between 40 and 50.
yeah, and it's like I'm saying, so, and last year, we were all presented the same thing, that we were looking at tax increases for the next 5 years. And so far, we're on track.
That's what we was presented, yes.
That's right. So
We're
far,
close-
we on track.
We
This
were
is
close
year
to
2.
resolving prior to EMS for this year. I knew the courthouse,
Yeah,
I knew that was coming.
and it to me, it doesn't matter if it's EMS, if it's the school systems. If we're holding any one party accountable, we need to hold everybody accountable. And I think everybody would agree to that, you know, including ourselves. I mean, I think, just me personally, and we can amend the agenda at any time, and that's something that I think gets lost to the public sometimes, that we can amend this agenda at any
You
time.
mean budget, amend the budget?
Yeah,
You
it's the
said
budget,
right.
yes, I'm sorry. No, we can do
I
that.
just hoping you out.
Yeah,
Hope
thank
you
you
out.
for holding me
And
up,
to,
man.
and to
yeah.
that end, for the next work session, if you'd like to see those numbers from Christie, we just had them verbally
Right.
about the personal property.
Yeah,
We can get those in writing. If you
yeah,
write that down, Steve.
so I just want to make sure, because
Revenue, personal property.
to the extent
relief
where it
from-
was presented before about the school, about the $2 million, that is currently 16.5-cent real estate tax increase if they needed to substantiate that, but it wasn't that. That's the required local match. That's not an increase. It was just wrongly stated, and now we've got clarification. So there's that. That's why I withdrew that. But nonetheless, you know, I apologize that I had a stroke. I really do. I'm trying to get caught back up. I'm spending more time with the board members when I can, you know, but my health and my rehabilitation comes first, because believe it or not, there is people that want me to sit in this seat. So, you know, I got to take care of myself first, and I just want to publicly thank Pastor Rick Payne. what you sent me this evening, sir, meant the world to me. Right message, right time. Thank you, sir, for that. And with that, guys, believe it or not, I digress.
Thank you, Mr. Rourke. Mr. Toast.
Hey, buddy. He usually forgets me. Ms. Norton, you got emotional. I'm gonna try not to get emotional. I know people are having a really hard time. More of them than we even know, because a lot of people's pride gets in the way. I will like to say that if you don't pay your real estate taxes, if I don't pay my real estate taxes, we're gonna have to reach for some help, because if we become delinquent for the 3rd year in a row, your real estate will be sold. So, and they gotta feed themselves, because if you lose your real estate and you still got yourself, they can't eat you. So it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be hard. We're gonna try to get some streams of revenue that we're working on, not to have to go this deep next year. And we're hoping we won't have to go this deep next year. But John, you asked about the courthouse. Was that figured in any part of this? Fact of the matter is, I said sad but true. No, it's not. And so we're gonna get through it as all citizens, not just board members, us 5, but all citizens of the county. And we work together. And I'm really grateful for not all, but most of the people that has called me concerning this. The ones that know that I'm not grateful for them, I told them so. And that's just because that's the kind of fellow that I am. And the ones that I am, I told them how grateful I was. So having said that, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. We have to have more revenue. And so in the last 3 weeks, we've had 2 different economic development meetings with the state for a couple of different things. So we are working to find private business that can come in here, create revenue, pay taxes, have some good jobs. One of them is similar to the lineman program, so that's not going to generate revenue, but it's going to train our young people into a field that has a great salary. So we're working to get more revenue so that we don't have to ask the citizens the next time there's some problem. As part of that, we know our next problem is we're doing the PPEA, which is the Public-Private Educational and Administrative Program that the state allows us to begin this courthouse process. We haven't given y'all an update lately, so the citizens, if you could just speak to that.
I'll be
Mr.
glad
Bowen.
to. And I want to say, before I get started on that, I want to say to Mr. Rourke, a lot of meetings that, and John, I want to say this to you, a lot of meetings that did occur that you weren't involved in, and you, no apology for your health. That's just one of those, that's a storm you went into. But I just want to say that we had Bill got a meeting with, just so y'all know, Burkeville is struggling with paying EMT as well. They asked for $135,000, I think, this year. So when we met with Burkeville, I brought in Logan and Dickie came there, and then Burkeville extended the invitation, and Chief Zach Bayers was there, and so was Chief Joey Cheneff. And in that discussions, they were very gracious. The fire department was yielding and say, hey, okay, we see what you got a problem here. And Joey will say, I mean, he said it the other night, he said, hey, we got volunteers, but it's coming. He said that in meetings, that not everybody's going to be volunteering in the future. So I just want you to know that I feel very good that it's not any dissension between the departments right now, that they are really working good together and realize what the county's facing. So I just want to throw that out there to you.
I would like to say one thing too. At that meeting, or one of our work sessions, former Chief Shute got up and said, it's nobody's fault.
Right.
And I want everybody to understand that. That's what Chief Shute said. It's nobody's fault. It's coming everywhere around us, and it's really nobody's fault. It's just, that's the way it is now.
Right.
I'd like to add a comment to a long-term administrator that used to be here for a very long time, of the comment and the friend of mine that he's been for years that I made to him outside coming in here. I told him I thought that he was growing a little hair. And I told him I thought I was losing some. And then I asked him, I don't think he first got it, and he's very intelligent. I said, you get my drift? Willie would say, you catch it? And then he caught it. He knew what I was saying. Yeah. So it's good. It's always good to see him in the crowd.
Yeah, Mr. Rourke. Yeah. So going back to your original, to update you on the PPEA, that process that is long, and I tell you, it takes a lot of time from the board members who was on that, Bo and Dickey. So right now we have 2 firms that are interested, and I ran into the problem where if you bring in three members, then you have to advertise, and Andrew can explain that to you. And that's why one of the reasons why I wanted y'all to vote. Y'all voted me off on the committee, so I could help orchestrate and have these meetings, because the reason we're okay with it being advertised. The firm don't want it to be advertised. They want to be able to meet in private and tell us, and because they don't want anybody to steal their ideas of what they're trying to fit for Nottoway. So what I end up doing,
really work papers.
Work papers, yeah, that's right. So what I end up working with is how we did it was decided to say, well, let's bring in the stakeholders first. And so we brought in the stakeholders. When I say the stakeholders, in a courtroom, in my opinion, and if I miss somebody, please forgive me, but I'm pretty close on this one. The stakeholders is the sheriff, the Commonwealth attorney, the circuit court clerk, and the general district court clerk. Yes. And so you'll say, well, you got some committee members. That's right, I got 2 on now. There was the sheriff and Jane Brown, okay? So you don't have to advertise. So they could meet, and so basically what the stakeholders did is say, hey, this is what we need. I need a place where you don't, that Andrea don't have to keep taking the computer down over there so the crowd can see, the Board of Supervisors. I mean, it's things like that. Or I need, you see how we're dealing with these microphones. Well, they got the courtrooms now, because people can't hear in the back. They'll tell you, well, I can't hear you. Well, they got microphones now in the walls and the ceilings. Yes. And things. So it's all these needs that people who have in courtroom, that's in court every day. I don't want to go to court, and when I'm in there, I'm there, and I want to get out if I am there. So I don't really look at it. So, and understand what they go through. So both firms had met with them more than once. They told them their needs. Now, everybody's got a need, and everybody's going to want the Cadillac. All right, so then we realized, okay, now you got to get down to where the rubber meets the road. How much is these needs going to cost? And so now the firms have come, and they're giving our committee, Bo and Dickey, a concept. When I say concept, hey, we'll redo this courtroom to still be the general district court, or we'll renovate this, and this will be where the treasurer and the Commissioner of Revenue comes in, and we'll build a courthouse in the middle of the grounds facing this direction. Or another firm says, hey, we're going to build a courthouse and face it that direction, so the parking will be at the pulley place. So those concepts are coming in now. So I talked to Catherine Douglas today. So where we are standing now is that when they finish those concepts, and they give it to us, then we put an RFP out, because other firms are going to be interested. And after that comes up, and I've asked her to help me with a timeline so the board can start seeing, because you got to give a timeline to that judge because of that court order.
Yes.
Okay.
July 5th.
Yeah, July 5th.
July 6th, I think.
And they're very much aware of that. So what I'm looking at now, in mid-June, we're hoping to put that RFP out. And I think that's going to be a good start to satisfy some of the lawyer that works for the circuit court
judge.
He worked for the judge. For 14, I think is the
the judge has his own lawyer. We
Right.
got to go through him, not the judge.
Yeah, we can't talk to the judge. We got to talk to the lawyer. So anyway, here's what we really got to discuss and we got to find out now. Once we review these RFPs, I think I got a feeling what we need to do is go ahead and have the committee maybe to narrow it down to 2 or 3. I don't know. Let's say I got 10. We narrow it down to 2 or 3, the committee, but the board eventually is going to have to vote on it. And then I think then maybe we'll come back again and say, all right, now the whole board, these are the 2 that's left, and with the committee members to say, hey, which way do you want to go here? Because
At that time, the whole board.
Right. Because John Roy, Dickey, it ain't just Dickey and Bo's name on that court order. It's all 3 of them, right? All 5 of you. So That would probably be done sometime in July or August, I would think. I would say more like August, but I don't want to say that I got the timeline wrong, right or not. One thing that, that our lawyer did do, ones that are interested in putting their name in the hat, they got to give us a check for $5,000. You say, whoa.
Or more,
Or more.
according to their projected costs.
Right. The reason why our lawyer put that in, because every time we invite our lawyer to those meetings, we can take their hourly charge will come out of that money, not be charged for the citizens of the county. So, and then the ones who don't get it, we got to refund their money after we take the lawyer fees out. We can refund their money. So I thought that was a way to keep. Anyway, I thought it was a good idea on our attorney side to put in the understanding of I think it was a MOU or something. But anyway, a resolution.
Yes.
So right now, that's where it stands. I will keep communication, and I'll get Andrea, if you would, make a note of it. I'll put an update each time in our board package so we can let the citizens know what is happening, what's progressing. Anyway.
I just want everybody to know, with the companies we have met with, they are very protective of their information.
Right.
They do not want it to be out in the public. So if you ask me about what happened or what you're going to do, I can't tell you. They've submitted some things. They have to stay private.
When does it start to become public? After
we narrow it down to
give it
just
to
a
judge?
couple.
I'm 99% sure, and Mr. Roger's back in now, but when we did the officers class, at a certain point, we can have meetings and give presentation, and the crowd can sit there and listen to those
Is
presentations.
that probably when the RFP?
It's probably after the RFP part is, when it's out and then people come give presentations. I think they can listen to those presentations.
Okay.
But I need to make sure, anyway.
Well,
I
that's,
believe as long as the working papers are not classified as working papers, then they can go out to the public. But as long as the attorney says they need to remain working papers.
Yeah,
we need to learn when
Right.
that will be.
And
'cause
basically-
citizens, of course, are gonna wanna know what.
yeah, basically they're taking their papers back with them. They give,
Oh, yeah.
they give
Yeah.
a concept, they go, can we have our stuff back?
Are
They
we-
take it with them.
Are we kind of being forced to accept the couple of things that are being handed to us?
No.
No.
No, we can tell them both
concept.
kick
These are
rock.
just their
Or
ideas,
four
isn't it?
kick rock.
In meeting with them, they want to know what we need.
Right, so to bring it up to code.
Exactly.
All right, to bring it up.
Exactly.
And it would be foolish for them to put anything extra to it, because then they would lose the chance of a bid on it.
Right.
Right. All right, yeah, so what I'll do is, Mr. Ingram and Bo, when I get a chance, I'll give you both a call, because I got some stuff here, and instead of asking it now or in public, I'll ask y'all, has any of this been addressed? Because one is about some grants, and
Sure,
that.
call both of us individually. That'd be the best way to handle that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely, individually, so we don't
Yeah.
constitute a meeting.
Yeah, and I'll say, that, we're fortunate enough that our building official, Nick Bowles, had reached out to USDA, and we had a conference call not too long ago, and there are some funds for the architectural part of the renovation, but I'm not exactly sure if some things we qualify for.
Is that the 15% that we're eligible for?
Of the county, he's talking about the 15% population.
No, yeah,
Oh,
but
oh.
because of the population, we're eligible for
That's right.
15% of the cost. We don't know the cost yet.
Right.
So we
Right.
don't know the.
But
dollar.
my understanding, it's not all the architect fees. It's something like maybe 15%, but certain things qualify, certain things don't. So we're gonna try to get as much in these firms. That's part of they're saying, hey, we'll help you with the grant to tell you where the grants are and blah 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 blah. But anyway.
Well, y'all got the information that I sent y'all last Thursday night, but, so basically, is the courthouse on the National Registry? Yes. But, USDA as federal funds, once you start getting into that, you start getting into some of the stuff about the historical part, and they give you those funds kind of leaning
Tie
towards
you in a little bit.
that you're gonna
I
have
see
to do that, but you can get state grants and local money, and you don't have to worry about that, because you can also declassify this, and it's
Let's
the,
talk about that, if you don't mind, Supervisor Rourke, independently.
yes, sir.
We don't want to I'm just saying, because I got two people that's on me about calling all the time, that's
Right.
watching, they're going to go to calling, and it ain't none of their business at this point.
It's
Until we
I
get
hear
to
it
that.
buzzing now.
It is, it really is.
It is, I'm like, it is.
You see it, don't you?
Yes. We'll talk.
I want to get
Yeah,
that, I want to
absolutely.
get
We'll-
that information
we'll-
from you, please. 'cause
Yes,
that
sir,
can
no
help us.
problem.
Mr. Bowen, do you have anything further?
No, sir, that was, I just want to thank all the staff for working hard on, and the board too, and especially this finance committee, for working hard on this budget. It's a lot of conversations went on, and I think Ms. Norton has said it tonight, a lot of stuff is mandated by the state that we really don't have a lot of control of, and, but I think, I think it was still treated fairly. What we try to do, and that's the thing, John, I get it. We look like you cut here, and then we gain over here, and that just it don't look like we cut, but we did go through it step by step and kept looking at it, but anyway.
All right. I'll take a motion to,
Announce that.
yeah. So Lafayette Dickens is the new mayor of Blackstone by a 7-0 vote. Some news, local news.
Maybe throw that out there too, Mr. Chairman.
Then we have a retirement reception in honor of Dr. Tamisha Grimes, Division Superintendent, on Monday, June 2nd, from 1 to 4:30 p.m. floating. Just come visit Nottoway High School's mini auditorium. Stop by to give Dr. Grimes well wishes on her new adventure and appreciation for all her hard work and dedication to the Nottoway County Public Schools.
All right, so y'all.
With that, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
That was the loudest I spoke to.
That's good. But that was good and loud. I'm saying that's good and loud.